Well, hello everybody. How is everybody tonight?
Hello.
Hi, Ma.
How are you, Kaz?
I'm suffering with the heat and more to come. Dire extreme heat wave is on its way, guys.
Elisa, hey stranger. Yeah, she's going to be doing a naked live, guys. Stay tuned.
I don't think so.
Copacabana. And then we're going to see Ross float by on a pink flamingo. Hey, Annie, Alana, GB. So, how is everybody? Kitty, don't you listen? You got to stop. I'm going to make him the co-host when I
Why
get
not?
settled. I mean, he's got so much to say all the time.
You don't.
Right, Kitty? Right, Kitty? I know. Hey, Dragonette. So, what are your guys' thoughts now on this horrible, unsolved quadruple for college students? I can't even.
Hey, Lana, that's a good name for a channel. Naked Down Under.
Yes. I think we should start something, Kaz. You want to do the first pilot live tomorrow? Naked from.
Oh, I went too far.
I swear she gets on camera naked sometimes, guys.
Sure.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of back and forth. Okay, and I guess the two roommates spoken out. I haven't heard that yet. What do you think, Kaz?
Well, Kaylee's dad's let slip a few things which are very interesting, which we'll get into tonight. And I haven't heard Dylan and Bethany's talk, which is going to be very interesting tonight. Yeah, but Alyssa, it just gets worse and worse, and either Ellie are keeping a lot to their chest, or they have nothing, and that's scary. Hey, Lucy and Lilac, how are you guys? Here's Ginny. Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping and praying they're just keeping the stuff to the chest.
Hello. I think they might have somebody of interest.
Mm.
I mean, they have to.
I hope so, love. I really do.
I mean, maybe they're waiting on search warrants, but you would have thought, honestly. Did you hear me talking before? Or is this the first time you're hearing me?
No, I heard you speaking before. Why?
Oh, okay. I don't know. My mic was on mute on the headset, and I was like, is it on mute the whole time?
No, darling.
So I do have internet, guys. I can't believe that crap today. Fighting with T-Mobile all day. Hey, Money Moves. And all they had to do was just recode my box for 100 GBs instead of 50, but nobody could pull that off for 2 months. And I get the kid today that pulls it off.
I figure.
Right? Yeah, so this is where the roommates. Let me just double check my volumes on. I got so excited with my new internet today.
I just
There
got
we
rid
go.
of I'll be back in a tick.
100 GBs. Ew. Are you? Wait, I'll wait for you to get back so you can hear this.
All right, hang on. I won't be a sec. He's
No, take your
crying
time.
at the door.
Hey, Michelle. Hey, London girl. I saw London girl in Off the Cuff today, but I was at work. Yeah, they had a lot of great things to say, especially Michelle McPhee. Yeah, Money Moves. I live in the mountains, literally. Like, I'm up in the mountains. And I can't do like any basic places because they don't do it out here. You have to have a clear sky of the west, and my whole west is pine trees. So they told me I could only do the 50 GBs, but then they came out with 100 GB, but one person's like, you need the box. So I went to T-Mobile today to get the box, and then I forgot my driver's license, and with all the other information and the birth certificate, they wouldn't let me get the box. I thought, you know what? You guys are lucky I don't own an AR. I'm only kidding, guys. So I got home, called T-Mobile to reorder the new box and cancel the second box. And then the guy's like, why don't we just recode your box to 100? I'm like, well, that's brilliant. How come you didn't tell me this 2 months ago?
Okay. Hey, London girl.
Hey, Alphabet.
Michelin.
Okay. Yeah, right. Keep laughing, right? GB, I know. I get 100 now. I think that should be enough, though, because 50 was getting pretty close until those long live streams. So, here we go.
Questions, few answers, no suspects. As friends remember 4 lives lost.
How truly special I felt to be your friend.
For the first time, we hear from the 2 surviving roommates inside at the time of the stabbings in their own words.
I'm going to be reading 2 different letters, one from Dylan and one from Bethany.
Their letters read by a pastor at a service held this weekend. From Dylan Mortensen.
My life was greatly impacted to have known these 4 beautiful people.
And Bethany Funk.
Maddie, Kaylee, Xana, and Ethan were truly all one of a kind. They all lit up any room they walked into and were gifts to this world.
Officials say the surviving roommates have been ruled out as potential suspects. Their 4 friends stabbed to death in the early morning hours of November 13th, likely while asleep in their beds. With no suspects or murder weapon, the Moscow Police Department still following leads in the investigation, digging through more than 100 pieces of evidence on top of thousands of calls, tips, and emails, maintaining the fatal stabbings were targeted. The department also focused on dispelling misinformation, saying there is speculation without factual backing, stoking community fears, and spreading false information.
Well,
But in this tight-knit town, frustration is boiling over. The father of one of the 4 victims, Kaylee Goncalves, is speaking out about the investigation to Fox News.
The lead detective looked me in his eyes. I have no doubt he's working as hard as he can. But somebody isn't communicating. There's nothing being released.
In our interview, he says with a lack of evidence, he's terrified the trail could go cold.
I don't know how you catch a criminal if you don't even know what you're looking for.
Families now fearful they may never find justice. Steve Patterson, NBC News.
so the letters were,
This is Lily.
yeah, I thought it was going to be something new. I knew
Yeah,
the
I
letters
was.
from the pastor that she read.
It's a shame that they didn't actually read them out, or they didn't let them speak.
Hey, Lana. Hey, sweet Caroline. Wet my planties. Oh. Oh, you got me. Oh, shit. So I was kind of switching to the Maddie situation because of the fact that it was in her room. Now, the one thing I did not know was that Kaylee was not living there at the time, that she came back that day to show Maddie her Range Rover. And I bet you the creeper saw them. And he knew that they were together. You know, whether he knew they were in the same room, but didn't someone say today, it's in one of the things that we're going to watch, that they believe that the person was in the house and they were like laying and waiting? And I saw one comment where it was like under the bed or something. I think they said it on Off the Cuff today. I think Phil said that he believed that maybe they were in the house. I could be wrong.
And that's a scary thought.
Right? But yeah, maybe like you were saying, Kaylee coming into town, maybe that he saw her and he thought, oh shit, there she is.
Mm.
You know, considering, because that's what you're saying. Let me play that one.
Well, if she hadn't have bought that new car, she wouldn't have been back in Moscow. And she wouldn't have been there to show Maddie.
I bet you they saw them at the corner club or somewhere that night. I mean, they did say that Kaylee's sister said that they kind of talked in circles, that it was somebody who was not in the immediate circle who they were suspicious of.
Yeah.
Hey, my elderly cats. There's a lot of talking in circles. He looks a little bit like Jim Terry right there. Oh, I'm not even going there tonight. Okay. I
Not
can't
going down
stand
that rabbit hole.
I can't stand the drama. Fox, be nice tonight, please.
Well, we can't blame your internet if it doesn't
No.
play.
Oh, it's Fox.
Bad Fox. Kitty, get the fox.
Yep, it's Fox. Here we go. I don't like Fox. Oh, here we go. Motion picture and picture first.
Mm. Whoever came up with that idea should be sacked.
Come on, play.
Own every mile at Hyundai Getaways.
Yeah, I don't get that whole picture in picture thing. I think it should not come up unless you choose it.
Today marks 3 weeks since 4 University of Idaho students were brutally stabbed to death inside their home. Investigators still not decided.
Officials are combing through thousands of tips, crime scene photos, and evidence.
The father of one of those victims, Kaylee Goncalves, is now revealing the manner of death for his daughter and her friend Maddie were different, leading him to believe one of them may have been the target. The heartbroken dad, Steve Goncalves, joins us now. Steve, before we start this interview, I just want you to know how much our hearts go out to you. That I know from what I'm hearing from people everywhere that they are with you, they're praying for you, and they're also hoping for justice to come sooner rather than later for your daughter and her friends. You mentioned here, you talked about the manner in which Kaylee and Maddie were killed is different. And what does that tell you, and what are the police telling you that means?
There's a couple things that tell me with common sense, but I'm not a professional, so I want to specify that. But they've said the entry point was the slider or the window. It was in the middle floor. So to me, he doesn't have to go upstairs. His entry and exit are available without having to go upstairs or downstairs. Looks like he probably may have not gone downstairs. We don't know that for sure, but he obviously went upstairs. So I'm using logic that he chose to go up there when he didn't have to. And I can kind of tell by my daughter's texts, messages. She did call 911. She wasn't saying anything along the lines of like she had heard something or she was in fear. So I'm just putting the dots together. As far as the investigators, they're very tight-lipped and they're keeping everything close to their vest. And I understand that, and I'm probably not the right person to share all these things with. So I'm just trusting them that their case is super tight and they don't really need to reach out to the community. And, you know, all the evidence is right there in that home.
So, Steve, and I want to be respectful, as I can tell you're trying to walk this tightrope as well with law enforcement, with the desire to know and get some type of action as well. You've said both now to Rachel and then in the clip in your appearance with Lawrence Jones that your daughter and Maddie had different means or manner of attack, and that suggests one of them was targeted. Can you share with us, do you know, and you can't share either way, which one was targeted?
I can't. I asked for permission to do just that, and they said no. I probably disclosed information that they wish I wouldn't have said, but the story's going cold. There's less people coming to Moscow. I'm not gonna go sleep in my bed knowing that I could get up and I could go to town and I could do something. And I'm not gonna go away. And I hate to be a pain, but as a father, I just can't even sleep thinking that I could be doing something. So that's why I'm up.
Understandable. Wow.
Let me ask the flip side too.
I hope he's getting
you're being
some
respectful
therapy
police
through
about the fact
this.
that they need to be tight-lipped. But if there was something you felt like you deserved to know or you should know as a father at this point, are there questions you have unresolved from the police that you feel like, hey, just throw me a bone here and let me know?
For sure. I mean, alibis, just share the alibi. If you're not sharing an alibi, to me, it tells me that you're not 100% confident that it's going to stick, or you have somebody who's going to come forward and say, hey, I don't know what he told you or that person's alibi was, but I have this information. I have something. So if you don't share the alibi, it makes it a little bit harder for us to just let those go. And I've said it before. I don't want to make victims out of just bystanders and witnesses. So I just share those things, and that would help.
Steve, you get the sense that you're being asked to not talk more and that law enforcement is being so tight-lipped to protect an investigation that is honing in on a conclusion, or because they're totally lost and there is no real sense of direction? And I think all of us,
I don't
we want to
believe
trust
they're
law
totally
enforcement.
lost.
We want them to do their job. But I don't know if you know. I have no idea. Is this thing honing in at this point, or is it scattered all over the place?
Wish I knew for sure. I did sit down with the investigator, the lead investigator, and I looked in his eyes, and I got a sense that this guy was going to do everything in his power to figure something out. But if the evidence isn't there, that's the part that I'm concerned. And then there's layers of separation. The communication is not the same as the boots on the ground. All the officers that are out on the streets, those guys are working their tails off. But there's a different person to just the communication. And that guy's sitting with the lawyer, and that guy's sitting there telling him, you know, you got to protect things that are beyond the case, like the town and the community and the college itself. Those don't matter as much to me. I mean, I definitely don't want to hurt them, but I have an agenda, and I think it's pretty clear. It's these two girls, and that's what I'm working for, and I'm not going to let that story fall apart.
I pray his father
because they
doesn't
don't
get
want
his
wanted
hands on that
posters,
guy before
you
the
know,
police
on their
do.
next rush of
Oh,
students
hell
coming
yeah.
to town.
Wow. You know, I have to say, Steve, I hadn't really considered those factors, but it's obvious that that would be a consideration for the communications director of the police department and also the PR for the school and the town. Are you communicating with the parents of the other victims? Are they feeling as frustrated as you are? And I hate to ask a two-part question, but I'm going to do it anyway. Do you feel confident in the police investigation and the people investigating right now?
I do not feel confident, and that's why I push the envelope and say a little bit more. I hate to be that guy, but you know, there's a job to do for everybody. Has a job and a role to play, and this includes. This is my role as the parent. I have talked to obviously Maddie's mother and her father, and I've talked to Xana's father, and he said, hey, you can speak on behalf and you can help push this narrative. So I feel confident there. That's as far as the real communications that I have. So one family have missed out to being able to be in the same location and the same thing to really get on the same page. So I try not to mention that and stay within my lane of what is my role. And
he doesn't want to mess up the
gear it all
case.
to my daughter.
Yeah.
It's just I can't speak for other people.
Yeah. Steve, before we let you go, just share a little bit with our audience about Kaylee.
Kaylee was amazing, hard worker. She was like, she hung out with two boys, her brother and her cousin, and she was right in between them. She wanted to be faster than them. She was that girl that was like really like, she was kind of like a Punky Brewster type girl. And we missed out on a really smart person that was going to be a little conservative. She was conservative too. She was always looking up stories on child, you know, getting trafficked, and she was telling me that she thinks it's a lot bigger than people understand. So, and you know, we can't replace her, guys. There's no replacing any one of these people.
Steve, we're all parents on this couch, and I just can't tell you how much we feel for you, and can't imagine what you're going through, you and your whole family. And I know that you came on the show today because you're hoping that people that might have information, you're hoping that more information come forward. And so we encourage anybody to call 208-883-7180. The phone number is on the screen right now. And I've heard you say it before, Steve, it could be anything. You have no idea how small the piece of information could be that could help.
You know, and Steve, good on you for agitating. We need more men and fathers willing to do precisely what you're doing, keeping people honest and working toward a solution. God bless you.
You're doing your daughter's memory proud. And frankly, you're an amazing example of fatherhood, even after
Look at
something
the
tragic
pain
like
in
this
his
happened to
face.
her. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. God bless.
Thank you, guys. Have a good day.
Absolutely
I
horrible.
can't even imagine what he's going through. I really can't.
You can see the stress, the aggravation. Like I couldn't imagine. But you can see the pain in his face. And their only girl.
Yeah.
Wait, no, she has a sister.
She's got a sister, yeah.
Yeah. Eliza. I forgot. Sometimes I get Maddie and Kaylee's family confused. Okay, where's the one with him, the mom and her sitting on the couch?
With Lawrence.
Yeah. I'm just going to go in the order I put them on the thing. I think this might be it. Yeah. Hey. Yeah, I keep forgetting about Eliza. I get Maddie and I'm all confused. Maddie's parents, have they come out and spoken yet? I haven't seen them.
Madison, I think there was one interview.
Her father, I think.
Yep.
Yes, Dragonet. And the whole thing that they brought Madison's ashes to be with Kaylee's for right now, like to comfort her. It's just so sad.
I mean, they've been friends since
Middle
they
school.
were middle school. I mean, that's a long friendship.
No, this is where I think he spills a lot of information.
Good evening, America, and welcome to the special edition of Cross Country in Moscow, Idaho. Tonight, we are in front of the Moscow Police Department. And you may be
Moscow.
asking why. It's been about 3 weeks
Hey,
since the
Shredder.
horrific stabbing death of 4 college
Hey,
students at the
lady.
University of Idaho. 3 weeks since we lost Zana, Maddie, Kaylee, and Ethan. 3 weeks, and still the police have no suspect or a person of interest. The community has been left in limbo, left with more confusion.
Yeah, Lyle, I could totally agree.
We are on the hunt
But
for answers from
unfortunately,
within.
it's not
Moscow
stopping.
deserves answers. The
Seems
students of
to
the
be
university
increasing, and I
deserve
don't
answers.
understand
These 4
why.
young innocent victims deserve answers, and so do their families. So let's start there. Joining me now on set,
I don't
the
know what's
parents of
happening
Kaylee
with this world.
Goncalves, Christy and Steve Goncalves. Thank y'all so much for being with me. You guys have been so transparent and strong for the public. Christy, you called the person that did this the boogeyman.
Yeah.
What did you mean by that?
It's literally like what nightmares are made of. Like when you're a little kid and you think of the boogeyman, that's just how I feel. Like that's just the horrific details of everything. Them just having a good time, going home and going to bed, and that's happening to them.
Your best friend crawling into bed.
Just crawling in bed.
Every
and
girl
the
in
boogeyman
America
comes.
knows what that's
The
like.
boogeyman doesn't,
I'm a
meet
fraud.
you at McDonald's. I mean, the boogeyman
Thanks,
comes
Pub.
and snatches you out of your bedroom.
Steve, we've been talking. I've been talking to folks in the community. You said something that stuck with me. You said, until this person is caught, you can't sleep in your bed.
No.
Hey, Pug, call me a fraud when you can spell the "you're right," and then I'll listen to you.
I'd like to know how he came to that conclusion. Huh?
Yeah, you call me a fraud, but you make sure you get your spelling correct, buddy.
I can't just lay in my bed and do nothing. That's not the way I raise my family. That's not the way I raise my girls and my son. You don't be a victim. You stand up for yourself and you do everything in your power to make sure people hear you. And they're gonna hear Kaylee. They're gonna hear Maddie.
Shredder.
They're gonna
I
hear
mean,
these
Black.
Yes.
The
I'm
FBI
careful
are
saying
there.
anything about them because I need to be careful because I can't speak on somebody else's child. But these 2 girls, I'm not trying to be a glory hound, but these 2 girls, I'm gonna do what I can do, and we're not being victims. We're gonna fight. We're gonna figure out how to make sure that we hold everybody, accountable, and we keep eyes and attention on this and get this thing resolved.
Steve, you have made it very clear to our audience that you are supportive of law enforcement. You support the investigation. But recently, I've been watching and talking with you, and you're getting frustrated. What does that frustration come from, sir?
They put certain people between you and the officers that are making things happen, and those people are like lawyers, and they don't want to say anything, and they don't have the guts to come up and be alpha and be like leaders and say, hey, we might say something that's wrong. We're going to take that hit. So the officers, they look me straight in their eyes. The lead detective looked me in his eyes. I have no doubt he's working as hard as he can, but somebody isn't communicating. There's nothing being released. It seems like they're trying to suppress the story. We want to put rewards out. They're like, don't do that. Yeah, I get it. Your town doesn't want to have reward posters posted all over when you come and you do your rush. You're not.
That's funny that you say that because Kaz and I were just talking about that.
We were.
What Lilac
actually.
said about the DNA.
Yeah, we were.
Yeah, we were just talking about that.
Going to get a lot of students if they see those things. But this community is not going to heal until this guy's pulled off the streets. It ain't going to happen. Think it through. It's not going to happen. He has to be off the streets. We all are working for the same thing.
When was the last time y'all heard from the police?
Thursday, we looked at our phone records. We want to be accurate. We don't want to sell anyone out.
About 3 o'clock on Thursday.
And
did y'all get an update from the police about the investigation?
There was nothing. We have no updates for you.
There was no update. They needed me to sign a waiver form so that they could investigate something that was mail related. So we're working with them. We're not selling them out. We love our law support.
The FBI, everybody that's here, we just have no information as family, and it's tough day after day after day. I mean, every day you just wake up and think today's the day. We're going to hear something, and you see these, there's a break in the case, and it'll just be something stupid.
The 6th person on the list that was never there. Stop playing games. This is serious. These are people's lives, and this is the future of this community. There's going to be 10,000, 15,000 kids that come into this community next year, or they don't. So I'm serious.
I had the opportunity to speak to some of my sources, and I've been told that there were differences in the way that the victims were killed. Some were more severe than the other. And this week we heard the target attack walk back and then reverse it back to it being a target attack. What can you tell us about the targeted attack?
They have told us that it was targeted, but they told us they can't tell who. We asked specifically, and they said, we'll try to get that information to you. And they got back to us a day or so later, and they said, we're sorry, we can't give you that information. But then a day later, we saw in the news that it was not targeted, or they think the whole house was targeted. But
I'll cut to the chase.
Yeah.
Their means of death don't match.
Maddie's
They don't.
and Kaylee's cause of death, it does not match based on the autopsy report.
They don't match.
Would indicate that one of them.
He doesn't have to
may
go
have
up the
been targeted.
steps. Let's stop playing games, guys. I need somebody to step up and be an alpha. Be somebody to be a leader. Don't make me do it. I don't want to do it. He doesn't have to go up the steps.
He's angry as he should be.
Damage don't match. I'm just going to say it. It wasn't leaked to me. I earned that. I paid for that funeral. I paid for that. It's my right. You ain't taking that from me.
Damn.
If you don't want to say nothing, that's your bet. But don't say I'm leaking anything. I paid that bill. Sent my daughter to college to get an education. She came back in a box, and I can speak on that.
I was also told from sources that are closer to the investigation, because there was a lot of roommates in there. And this was horrific for those roommates that were there as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
The preservation of this crime scene. Witnesses tell me that it may have well been preserved because the phone was passed around between one of the fraternity members and the girls. One of them unfortunately witnessed the death, the body there. Can you confirm that?
We cannot actually. We know nothing about that whole phone call. We've asked, and it's, I mean, I know that a lot of people want to know, but that's just not our agenda. We just are like, somebody called 911, somebody was reported unconscious. We don't really know. I mean, we've heard so many different things, and nothing has been clarified or been told to us at all. And I mean, I don't know if I personally have asked anything about that. I don't know if you've asked that, but we know that this is getting 3 weeks in, and it's starting to get, we don't want it to go cold. We're reaching out. I've reached out to friends down in California today that have connections that we're hoping to raise some money to get a reward, to get a private investigator.
Third party.
Why go the private route? Do y'all worry that at the end of this week that this case may be cold?
We're scared.
When you tell me you don't want a photo up there with the reward offering information, that kind of sounds like you're trying to like suppress the story. I mean, why do you not need help? But hey, I could be wrong, and you officers, I apologize if I'm wrong.
Yeah,
I want to. Please forgive me. Please forgive me. But if you don't have the information, and people do know, then you know the community. This is a community that is IT based. These guys live a digital footprint like we've never. All of us older people, we don't know how much that digital footprint could be helpful. So that's what we asked for. I hope like a DNA, family lineage, if they could come out here and just start taking. This town is not that big. We can figure out this, and it might be a family member. We have family all going to the school together. You know, there's cousins, there's aunts, there's uncles. We could find this guy just with volunteers.
Lineage companies where our
Put Idaho on the map.
Hey, Trinity.
Christy, Steve, we're going to stay on this case.
Thank you.
We're not going anywhere.
Thank you.
You guys have been candid with us. We'll keep asking questions. Any resource that we have available, our audience is praying for you guys. Thank y'all. It was big for you guys to come back to Moscow tonight. I know it took a lot of courage to do it, and I'm hoping we can get some answers for you. Thanks so much for joining me tonight.
It's exactly right. It wouldn't take much to take that DNA and run the ancestral.
Well, you have to think about it. You know that they've collected a lot of evidence and they went back and collected more. But either they do have DNA or they don't. And either he's in the system or he's not. Maybe they do have DNA and it's not in the system like we've been saying. And that's why too, the DNA was out there. I don't know. But I do know that this guy right here is my new superhero. Avery read our minds. I love Dale Carson.
Yes.
Did we all contact him? I contacted him. Yep. I think I even wrote down Ed, well, the attorney in New York cell phone number that goes on Duty Ron's show. I forget his name, Mike? Murphy. His last name is Murphy.
Isn't it Ed Murphy?
I don't think so. I think Ed is the man who is in Indonesia. Hey, Beagle. Mama. They need legally ordered DNA from every member of that fraternity.
Oh, I agree.
I'm sure that they have to be people have to be coming in even to rule themselves out with DNA testing. Like, you would want to be ruled out, right? Ed Wallace. All right, let's listen to yeah, I think this guy is right on the money. I'm going to go use the little girl's room. Be right back.
Okay, darling.
Crime Stories with Nancy Grace. As droves of students and others gather together to mourn 4 University of Idaho students slaughtered in their sleep, the question remains, who's the killer? I'm Nancy Grace.
Trini,
This is
we're going
Crime
to cover
Stories.
that,
Thank you for being
darling.
with us here at Fox Nation and Sirius XM 111. Listen.
An eerie silence inside the Kibbe Dome before tonight's vigil. The sound of buzzing and beeping metal detectors made more noise than the thousands of students who stood on the field to honor the life and memory of Ethan, Xana, Kaylee, and Madison, who were found stabbed to death in this home off campus 17 days ago. Candles weren't allowed inside the Kibbe Dome, so students instead lit up their phones as the names of each student were read aloud during a moment of silence, a pillar of light representing each life lost.
We don't know how long this investigation will take, and we don't know the why behind this horrific act. But what we do know is we will all go through this together.
Xana Kernodle's family was not here tonight. And, the elephant in the room, obviously the killer still out there, but were they here tonight at this vigil standing alongside students? That's a question some people are wondering.
You're hearing our friends over at KREM, but the big question, even touching on the vigil, is a bombshell just dropped by Idaho police. Take a listen to our friend Brian Enton.
We interviewed the prosecutor. He said that one of the victims was not targeted, that the residence was targeted, and then today said something totally different to a different reporter. We've been trying to figure it out, and I just got an email from the police department saying that this has been an internal miscommunication. And I want to read this. This is a quote now by the prosecutor. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you. We want to let you know that there was a miscommunication between detectives and my office. To clarify, investigators do not believe the murders were random, but we cannot unequivocally state the residents or any occupants were specifically targeted. I apologize for any confusion. And then it goes on to say in big, bold letters, correction. Conflicting information has been released over the past 24 hours. The prosecutor's office stated the suspect specifically looked at the residence and that one or more of the occupants were undoubtedly targeted. We have spoken with the prosecutor's office and identified that was a miscommunication. Detectives do not currently know if the residents or any occupants were specifically targeted, but continue to investigate.
Okay, this is a big deal. And it was not a quote, internal miscommunication. Multiple people within the police force and the DA's office have said these 4 murders were targeted. One or more of the college students were the target of a killer, a knife killer. That's not a miscommunication. This is a change in forensic strategy. With me, an all-star panel. Before I go to crime reporter with Fox News Digital, Stephanie Pagonis first. Joe Scott Morgan, professor of forensics, Jacksonville State University, author of Blood Beneath My Feet on Amazon, and star of the hit series Body Bags with Joe Scott Morgan. Joe Scott, this is a seismic shift because if the attacks were not targeted, that makes the killer much, much more a needle in a haystack.
Yes, it does. In that population at that university, Nancy, it certainly does, because now you don't know who you're looking for. Can you narrow it down? Possibly. But, there's been, look, and hear me right here. When you put this kind of information out, that turns all eyes. It turns all minds toward a particular type of person that they're looking for. And that even extends out to the individuals that they might be seeking information from. Oh, they're looking for a targeted person.
Okay, whoa. Slow down. Yes, you're right. And back to let me go to Stephanie Pagonis real quick. Crime reporter, Fox News Digital. Stephanie, thanks for being with us, because much was made about the vigil. Was the killer there? If it's not targeted, he's not there. If he's not expected to be, the only way that the killer, if it was targeted, would be noticed in his absence is if he was expected to be there. You know, like when a husband kills a wife and he doesn't show up for the funeral, that's really obvious. But in an untargeted attack, that killer is not going to show up at a vigil. He's long gone.
So I was actually there last night, and not only were, like you said, there hundreds of students there, but there were also what appeared to be undercover police officers in the crowd. But one thing, like you said, is walking back to this targeted statement changes so much about this case. Even from the start, police have said, and not at all to fearmonger here, but even from the start, police have said that there was not a threat to the community because this was a targeted case. Now, of course, they later said that people should be careful, and that is absolutely understandable. But this changes so much, and I just want to flag that exactly 1 week ago from yesterday, on November 23rd, Moscow Police Captain Roger Lanier told the press and the public during a press conference, he said, "We've told the public very clearly from the beginning that we believe it was a targeted attack. To be honest, you're going to have to trust us on that." So they wouldn't say why they thought so.
Yeah, they're all pointing the finger now. Stephanie Pagonis saying, "Oh yeah, this was an internal communication." I'm calling BS on that, because people within the police force, just as you just pointed out, Stephanie, and within the DA's office, were saying, "Hey, trust us, it's targeted." Now, before we get crazy, I also want to state, and agree or disagree, Dale Carson is with me, high-profile lawyer joining us out of Jacksonville, and also a former Fed with the FBI, former cop as well, and a high-crime area, Miami-Dade, author of Arrest Proof Yourself. He's at DaleCarsonLaw.com. Dale, here's the thing.
Dale.
Targeted can mean a lot of different things. And
hi, Dale.
Let me harken back again to Ted Bundy. Yes, he targeted the women in the Chi Omega house, the girls. But he didn't know them. When I say he targeted them, they were all of the physical type that he enjoyed killing. Within a certain age, of course, he did deviate. Within a certain age, he killed within his race. Many of his victims all had long, dark hair, parted in the middle. If you look back at them, they had a certain look. So did he know them? No, he didn't even know their names, but he targeted them. Get it?
Well, exactly what is happening.
Jennifer, girls on third floor, Ethan found in communal area. Ethan and Maddie heard commotion. Maddie and Kaylee were in the same room, in Maddie's room. Ethan and Xana were on the second level across from the kitchen. So Kaz and I were talking about that earlier. Was Ethan out going to the bathroom, getting something to eat or drink when the boogeyman came in? And then, of course, Xana had to have heard something. But he continued to go upstairs.
Yes.
I wonder if he tried to get in one of those upstairs balconies first.
Well, it'd be pretty hard to get up there unless he used a ladder. Hey, Chisme,
It could have been, it could have been locked. He could have said, "Okay, I'm going back down to the second," or he could have came into the second. The first girls, I don't know. We're gonna have to wait. We can only speculate if he tried to open the basement door or whatever. But if Xana woke up, I mean, how would the two of them not wake up to hear her wake up from? It had to have been horrible screaming.
Oh, unimaginable.
But if it's basement and those rooms are underground in the front, then they might not have heard it. But they don't really look to be underground.
No, but I did read somewhere the way that the two upper levels were constructed, that the floor on the roofing on the first floor, well, from the floor entry where the two lower ground bedrooms are, had to be really reinforced, so it would be rather soundproof.
It could be. They also came out with a slip and said that the murders were, I heard the latest that it's going to be in one of these things that we listen to, that the murders were at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
All right, let's go listen to this guy. I think this guy nails it.
Here. So my understanding of targeted is different. It's like yours. They were targeted because they were actually killed. And these were killings. This was not wanting them to have pain. This was a killing. They went in, the person killed these people. So this was not made to make them suffer, as Bundy often did. So you're exactly right. But now they're switching the game on us. And now it's not a targeted attack. It's going to be random. And so that does change the entire dynamic of who we're looking for.
Oh, yeah. And that's certainly putting it mildly. Just Scott Morgan, before when we thought it was targeted, remember you and I were analyzing, how do they know it's targeted? Was one body treated differently? Was one body staged? I mean, we were going through all of the possibilities.
Right.
But not targeted? Oh, it's not like you're going to the boyfriend, the ex-boyfriend, the creepy guy online that's following you, tagging you, the guy that's looking at your Snap map. No. Then you go beyond that to the delivery boy. You go beyond that to the guy that sits in the back of your classroom.
Yeah. Hey,
and then you go to the bus driver and the cab driver and the Uber driver, and you go out and out and out, and suddenly.
Another thing that people keep talking about, the 6th roommate and the keypad on the door from the roommate that lived there in 2009. Okay, I don't want to hear it. 2009 to 2022, that's a lot of times of changing a lock. So that to me is completely out of the ball game. You know the picture of the former guy from 2009, Kaz?
Yeah.
Well, I bet you that lock has been changed probably 8 times between that.
I would.
So that I take off the table. It means nothing to me. And I take off the 6th roommate because she wasn't moving in yet, but probably after the holidays.
You got nowhere to go.
Got nowhere.
With untargeted,
in my
it could
opinion.
be anybody.
Yeah, it becomes randomized. Hey, Nancy, something I find interesting here in reference to Dale's former colleagues with the feds. And notice the silence is deafening from the FBI at this point.
Well, wait a minute. You don't usually hear a lot from the FBI.
No,
They
you
usually
don't,
keep
but
their
they
yak
do.
shut.
Okay, well, listen, they have involved, admittedly, the behavioral sciences unit.
I don't know why you're saying admittedly, like it's some kind of confession. They put on the thumb screws and torture. Yeah, we admit.
They put it out there. So I think people are, and rightly so, they should be asking the question, where is the FBI? Well, the FBI many times will consult with the locals. I'm wondering if the locals are listening to the FBI or if the FBI is giving them information about what their profile
Oh, Joe Scott, you know what?
What?
You're muddying the water. And I don't think right now the police need another black eye. But another thing, and Joe Scott, Stephanie Pagonis, Dale Carson, Dr. Bethany, you know I'm getting to you. I think that people are actually mistreating the cops right now. They're saying they bungled it. I don't think that's correct. In a multi-victim murder scene, the last one I worked on, there were 4 dead bodies on 2 floors, and it took us over 2 weeks to gather the evidence. And we knew who did it. We already knew who did it. Another multi-victim crime scene I worked on had 3 homicide victims. And what complicated that is that it was outdoors. Now catch this, wait for it. I went back to the scene, practically every day.
I don't know, Jennifer. I'm starting to think that maybe Ethan was out at the bathroom, in the kitchen, and maybe that was just a bad time. Or, I mean, how are you asleep that quick after getting home? They were probably just chilling in the bedroom. Maybe he went out of the room to get something at the time that the boogeyman came in. You know, I don't know. But something happened. 6 went in and only 2 came out. And that's so powerful when the father of Kaylee says that he sent his daughter to college and she came back in a box. I can't even imagine.
Yeah, that's horrendous.
But it was well on a week before I went back to the scene and found another shell casing hidden under foliage. Yes, that's what takes so long. And I just happened to find it. I was just kicking around and I found it. In fact, I just got chills remembering that moment. So, guys, claiming they bungled it is simply not accurate.
Absolutely.
Alyssa, I've
lawyer
hidden
Jacksonville. But
cards.
today,
I'm tired of
I
it.
have him
Hang
along with
on,
Joe
hang on. Let me
Scott
pause
Morgan to talk.
this. All right, go ahead.
Cars. I've hidden your messages. I'm tired of it. It's childish. I don't like childish things going on in chat. This is a serious thing. You could go to another channel if you want to be childish. We won't
Wait,
stand
what are
for
you
it.
talking about?
Oh well, you haven't seen it, sweetheart. We've had a person that said you're a fraud that you mentioned in the beginning. Well, there's another person that came in called Cars, and they're being very unnice to a lot of people in chat. Yeah, Lana.
Yeah,
but
you always
her.
get a couple of the assholes that want to come around to stir shit up, but we don't do that over here. So bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye. Huh.
I've already checked out the so-called channel, and they only started it today, so.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Dale Carson with me, not only high-profile lawyer in Jacksonville, but today I have him along with Joe Scott Morgan to talk about the forensics. You've got blood on blood on blood. You got to get the blood. You've got to get it to the crime scene, uncompromised. Then
Not
the
to the
scientists
crime
get in
scene,
on it.
Nancy,
They're
to the
looking
lab.
through the microscope. They've got to analyze, is it one person's, two people? Has it been compromised with dirt or hair, or has somebody stepped through it? You've got to comb that place for fingerprints. This was a party house, for Pete's sake. No telling how many fingerprints. And you know they're not bringing a maid in every other week. That's not happening. So how many fingerprints are in that home covering everything? This is a very complex crime scene consisting of 4 dead bodies on 2 different levels, 3 levels altogether to process, Dale Carson. I mean, the fact that they originally said it was targeted, I understand why they said that. And the fact they're now saying, hey, it may not be targeted, I understand why they're saying that, Dale.
Well, look, when I talk.
Lana, some people have way too much time on their hands. It's more like go step outside and get a breath of fresh air.
Crime scene investigation for the Bureau. Here are the principles. The first is you make sure the bad guy's not there.
Yeah, you'd never toot your own horn, would you? Go ahead.
No, the bad guy's not there. You make sure that anybody who is there is still alive. And if not, you try to fix that. And then the next thing you do is you expand the perimeter of the search as large as you can maintain control over it, because that deals with chain of custody later when you're trying to prosecute the case.
Okay, hold on. Talk English to me, man. When you say, for those of you listening, you hear Dale Carson throwing out a little lingo. We're impressed. Expand the perimeter of search.
You want to
speak plain English,
right,
man.
Well, you want to control the biggest area you can to protect any evidence that you may later find in that area. And from my perspective, now that this is clearly not a targeted attack, that comes from somebody watching the interior activity of that house from the exterior. And that puts us back on that hill.
You said that on day one. You said they need to be looking at that incline, kind of like a hill right behind the house, that someone could have been watching the house from that hill. And some idiot, I don't know who it was yet, but I'll find out. Stephanie Pagonis, crime reporter, Fox News Digital, was whining that the cops didn't get cast prints of the vehicles before they were taken. Well, that's.
I think she's one of those people, Eagle. Either you like her or you don't, but I like Dale Carson. I don't think she's everybody's cup of tea.
Yeah, Nancy Grace. She doesn't talk. She shouts. That's what I don't like about her.
Yeah.
Idiocy. You get cast prints of tread marks when you don't know what the car is. They towed the cars, and I believe the cars belong to the people that lived in the house, the 5 people living in the house. 5 cars were taken away. So and they've been taken away for processing in a controlled environment, probably with Idaho State Police. So a lot of whining about what the cops are doing, like not taking cast marks of tires. You take a cast mark when you don't know who the car belongs to, like a getaway car. So, Stephanie, I also want you to clarify something. I don't get that cops are saying necessarily this is not a targeted attack. I understand them to be saying, we don't know if it's targeted or not.
I completely agree. What they seem to be saying here is not definitive in one way or another. What they're saying is they can't yet say definitively that this is targeted. Instead, they're still working to ascertain the information to be able to definitively say so. Now, as for the crime scene and even that incline that we discussed just previously, I just want to flag that I'm here now. I'm here on the ground in Moscow, Idaho, and we have not only had one full day of snow, but we've had several. Now, I've been told from the police department that they have already done extensive work and spent much time at the crime scene, but I do wonder how much the snow complicates things. Now, as for the vehicles, like you discussed, yes, they did tow 5 vehicles away from the scene, and the vehicles are now being placed at a city at a city mechanic shop. So they are there in a controlled environment, like you said, so that if they need to go back and examine the cars once again, they can do so. I was told yesterday that the cars were already processed while they were at the crime scene, but now they're being held as part of their ongoing search warrant so that if they need to revisit those vehicles, they can.
And very quickly, Joe Scott, I think the reason they're taking the vehicles, and there's really no way to put this delicately, for all I know, the perp came up and took a leak on one of the tires.
I agree,
watching
Beagle.
the house. He may have touched the car. For all I know, one of the girls may have given the killer a ride. That's why they have the cars. I don't think the cars are connected to the murders, but they're going to be processed. And how does the snow affect the scene on that incline behind the murder house, Joe Scott?
Well, obviously, the snow is going to obscure anything as far as footprints and all of that is concerned.
You know, we know that snow covers up the leaves and the foliage, but the way you said it sounded so much more.
Beagle Mama, I just have to say this. I had a Beagle bench dog, and he lived to be 19 years old. He was my favorite dog. Now I have a Chihuahua, a mean old Chihuahua named Monkey.
Scientific. Okay, go ahead. Obscure.
Well, yeah, it's going to cover it up so that they're no longer visible. I hope that.
But can you process it?
It's very difficult. Now you can process. There's a difference now. You have, when this thing first happened, Nancy, there was no snow on the ground. So if you have an underlying footprint out there at that time, you would have had to have captured it then. But now you've got a layer of snow on top of it. Now we can get footprints out of the snow. That's not what's going on here. Now the snow is obscuring. It's hiding. So if you didn't get it the first time, it's going to be very difficult to get it now because now you're going to have
basically
milk.
you're screwed. I'll interpret that for you. If you didn't already process that scene, that area, a viper's nest, I think, as Dale Carson may have called it at one point, where the perp may have been watching them, much as Bundy would watch his victims. I spoke to one of his surviving victims, and when she was attacked, oh my stars, Jackie, what was her name? I loved her so much. She was a dancer. And he was watching her through her window go through her dance routine. And he came in and beat her senseless. She survived. Oh, by the way, he left her permanently deaf. That ended her Broadway aspirations, but she went on to become a dance instructor for the deaf, believe it or not. Wasn't she at Cadet? Anyway.
Cheryl Thomas.
Right,
Nancy,
Cheryl Thomas. Hold on, wait a minute. You're making me lose my thought. It's very easy to do. My point is, back to what Dale Carson was saying earlier, if this guy had been watching them the way Bundy watched some of his victims through the window, there may have been trace evidence left there. But the snow, they didn't process it before it started snowing. They're screwed. Jump in, Dale.
And look, we're not necessarily looking for trace evidence or fiber evidence or microscopic evidence. When people do things like this, they tend to leave things by accident. A bullet falls out. There's some piece of their clothing that's left there, a large piece that you can see. Or you go to the scene and you kick up the leaves and you find a bullet casing. That's what we're looking for.
It was a knife, man. There's not going to be a bullet casing, but I get your drift.
That. I'm talking about when you found one.
Oh, yeah, that's exactly how that went down. Dr. Bethany Marshall joining me, psychoanalyst to the stars, joining us out of Beverly Hills. You can find her at drbethanymarshall.com. Dr. Bethany, I got several questions.
The first one terrifying,
being,
Shredder.
What does it tell you about the killer that they may have been just watching the victims through the window? Because, Jackie, remember when we looked at the crime scene?
Okay, I'm not trying to take any credit for this, but Kaz, I've been saying this from day one. But I'm saying I see the creeper, but I don't think, hey Bernadette, hey Keep It Real, I don't think they taped off the scene far enough back because of that angle I showed you, and I'm going to show you on that's one video that I have saved where you can see what I'm talking about. Like a little further back, maybe he comes from that apartment or dorms on the left. Like, yeah, I think they should have taped it off like all the way to the other building in that area. Probably find some cigarette butts in there. Maybe he was smoking.
You never know.
I've never shared to them my afterthoughts on what I told you. I told Chisme about the guy with no feet.
Oh God.
And then you told me that it was Melissa Caddick's friend. Oh gosh, that's creepy. And I also heard someone was talking in one of these videos updates, or so many of them, that they believe that the creeper was inside the house. You know, maybe when he saw the girls getting in the Uber. But even like in the last video I dropped, the chronological order, and now people are saying, I don't know though. I kind of still feel it might have been Maddie. I don't know, but one of those two. One of those two. And I guess we'll find out. But I don't think he wanted to say, hey, I hope Ethan's maybe out, whatever, or maybe he did what he did to them because he knew they would have heard him upstairs and he wanted whatever time. I don't know. I'm just speculating. But I do think they've seen him around. I think they might have known who he is. But I see it like to where maybe he was trying to get with Maddie or Kaylee, and the other one was like, yeah, right. She would never go for someone like you. Like a little creeper. I don't know. I think I need to buy a spirit box.
You can look straight in some of the windows, especially the sliding glass door. And if it's at night and they're in there in the light, walking around, cooking, probably partially undressed like everybody does,
oh, gosh.
you're probably watching that. So what kind of a person does that, number one? And number two, this may not be targeted thing is a big deal. Translation, you better get your children home from that school right now. Because if it's not targeted, if it's not the boyfriend, the ex-boyfriend, the connected person, that means it's random. And your child.
Hey, Spencer. I don't think I've seen Spencer. Yes, Spencer, we're going to play that. Yes, we've been talking about that. You know, Kaz had mentioned the other day how Kaylee came in for the weekend. So I thought, you know what? Maybe Madison was the target because of it being her room. But then you hear that Kaylee was in the room with her. And then you start thinking, And then when you hear that she had just come back into town, I'm starting to think that the creeper saw her back in town and thought whatever. And he figured that she was probably leaving town soon, right? He had to make his move. You know, Kaz, what do you think about that? Right, Spencer? I totally changed the ball game to thinking, oh shit, maybe he did get a glimpse of her. Maybe he was one of the weirdos at the food truck. They could tell us all day they cleared 25 people, but they could make us want to think that. Just like, why did they tell us what kind of weapon was used? And then say no essay. I truly believe that one of the girls was not maybe essayed, but had like a love bite or something that just was not like the other. It wasn't a dream, Chisme. I could actually see it. Like right now I can see it, but it doesn't have any feet. Hey, Kaz, are you here? No. Kaz just left. Okay, here we go, guys.
Kyle could be next.
So, Nancy, just to place this in context, I was thinking about, you remember Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker?
Oh, yeah.
I was a student. I was in seminary when he was targeting women in the larger Los Angeles area.
Mm-hmm.
So I had 3 roommates.
Did he cross racial bounds? Did he kill within his race?
And he crossed racial bounds and age bounds from very young women to the elderly. But it was mostly women, I think one male victim. So my roommates and I, we would literally tie rope and twine and everything we could around our windows at night because we were so terrified that the Night Stalker would come and get us. So I'm thinking about this university campus. And if the police say, hey, it's targeted, they're like, okay, one of the girls had a stalker. So it's not going to be me. I can continue to go to my classes. I can.
Right, Trinity. I dug so deep. And then I was working on Madison's Instagram and TikTok. And we were going to look at Madison's tonight, but we're probably not going to. But for girls that are pretty like that, there's going to be so many. Oh, you're gorgeous. I love you. How many of you guys think that this guy is an incel?
call my parents, I can live my life. But when the police say it's not targeted, oh my God, this was a serial killer. He was looking through the windows. He was checking them to see if he was their type, because we know serial killers have types. And in this case, that the type could have been, white.
Hold on just a sec,
blonde.
Beth. Sydney, pull up for me a picture of Bundy's victims. I've seen and studied very carefully this menage of all.
God, I can't stop talking. I'll tell you what, Spencer, I've watched so many serial killer documentaries in the last, 2 weeks. I have seen it all. I've heard it all. My gosh, like, if anyone searched my phone, I think that I would definitely go to prison for life.
All the victims.
I got to get into a cool state that doesn't have, I'm just going to stay here. We're good. But shit. But just like, and I this is a trigger warning, guys. This is a serious trigger warning, what I'm going to say right now. I watched one last night, and the guy sliced off the woman's breast and threw it like a Frisbee. I mean, he just hated women so much, but he was taking women that worked the streets, but he wasn't essaying them, but he was doing like other just weird things. It was just, there's a lot of weird. I've watched so many stories, guys, that I could probably name 50 serial killers right now in 30 seconds. Like, I'm good. I mean, they say if you kill over 3, you're a serial killer. Does it mean if you kill over 3 in one spot? Because mostly serial killers kill at different locations, except for, of course, if somebody's with them, like Golden State Killer was a couple deal. You know what I mean? But it makes a lot of sense why he did what he did to the rest, because maybe he was that obsessed with Kaylee. Like, that's scary. How would she have not have known? Or did she know, and that's the one that the father talks about, that she mentioned to him? But then he said there was nothing weird that night, no weird text from Kaylee. So obviously he was definitely lurking, or maybe he was underneath the bed. Oh, I can't.
And, oh, yeah, okay, I got it. I want to make sure I was talking about the right thing. Yeah, look at that one over at the right, Sid. They're all with the hair, the long straight hair parted in the middle, white females. Go ahead, Dr. Bethany.
Okay, so Bundy had a type, right? What if this is a serial killer whose type is blonde women, long curly hair, beautiful, wearing the hip jeans that young people wear these days. I've been looking at all their Instagram photos, beautiful white teeth, friendly girls who kind of hug each other and sit on each other's laps, sleep in each other's beds because they're besties. The type is not just how they look, it's how they maneuver in society, it's how they relate, how they engage. He has formed relationships with these victims in his mind if he's been looking through their windows. So think about the mass hysteria that's taking place on this campus. Every young woman and man, because a young man was killed, is going to be thinking,
Kaz, if you want me to pause, tell me to pause.
No, it's all good. I'm just wondering how much longer it is.
We're halfway through. I'm on 1.25. Here we go. This lady's creeping me out because this really does make sense. Like, how long was he? Like, was he watching her, Kaylee, there for a while too? Like, just watching the top floor? And he kept fantasizing, and then boom, she's gone. And then she's out, and boom, who's there? There she is. Hanging out with her bestie, Maddie. And you saw them in the food truck, how cute they were, and the pictures, and I feel so bad for their families.
is somebody looking through my window? Am I his type? What's on my Instagram? What is on my social media? Because serial killers don't just look through windows anymore, right? They can look at social media profiles. They can do all kinds of things. So I think in this moving from targeted to not targeted, the police are also saying, don't think it's just these girls or one girl who had a guy who had a strange fascination with her. It could be anyone. So the psychology on this campus, as you said, parents are going to want to be getting their kids home. They're not going to want to be there anymore.
Guys, take a listen to Brad Garrett, former FBI special agent, speaking to our friends at GMA.
If there's not an immediate connection, you have to go to sort of a wider circle.
I mean, when you think about it, Kaz, it does make sense that he went into the second floor. He was going to creep up to the third floor, knowing that they were in the same room, and probably just unlock the glass door and go right off the balcony. I mean, if I was doing it, that's what I would do. I wouldn't bother going back downstairs. I would just go right out the balcony.
Well, that's a hell of a jump.
No, he could swing off that balcony and hang from that bottom piece and just fall. It's not. He would be okay. It's up on the hill area where he lurks. But Ethan was probably in. Maybe he was walking out the same exact time to go to the bathroom or go to the kitchen, and here comes the boogeyman. And of course, if that happens, Xana probably woke up. Who knows if the two girls upstairs heard him?
I mean, we've got two people who weren't supposed to be in that house that night. We've got Kaylee and we've got Ethan.
Yeah, but I am convinced that he knew everyone that was in that house that night.
Well,
but I don't think he was. Huh?
Of course, if he was watching, he would know.
Yeah, but I don't think he thought he was going to run into Ethan. I pray to God we're going to find out, because I can't go on like as long as the Delphi murder went, like that's not even acceptable. They have to have so much cameras in that area too. Like I can't imagine what kind of a college town, like what kind. I mean, 1,000 pieces of evidence with 4,000 crime scene photos. Then they went back for more. It's a lot of evidence. And how many people are walking those streets being what kind of town it is? Like in the winter with hoodies and stuff. Oh my God.
You would look at, for example, maybe or maybe not somebody older. I only suggest that because this crime appears to be very focused and the person had a comfort level in the house. And so as a result, you start looking at sort of relationships that really aren't tight with these kids. Somebody they met occasionally, somebody that may have come to the house to attend a party. Apparently this was a...
The Spencer Beast message. Creepy, did you hear tonight that Kaylee did call 911? I was shocked her father said she wasn't able to speak, but they confirmed on her cell phone she did call 911. Why didn't Ellie go check?
Wow.
Where did you hear that, sweetheart?
Yeah, we're going to have to look, but I'm not going to get sidetracked off this interview, but that's crazy. If that's facts, then I mean that could go one or two ways, right? Someone's trying to hurt me, or I just drove my car into the lake. Right? It depends on what side you're going to take. Hey, PB&J. Hey, Moni Smoke.
Yeah, I thought he said no, that she didn't call 911 too.
Oh. False. He said she did not call 911. Huh. If she was I don't know. Another one, you have to sit back and just wait for facts.
The big party house. And so that makes it more difficult. Less connections makes it more difficult many times to solve a crime.
He's so right. Let's listen to more of what Brad Garrett says.
If somebody that's done this before, I mean, people who do this kind of stuff get a big thrill out of doing it. Now, we don't know if it's that type of person, but that it could be something like that. The idea that you killed 4 people just tells me that this was sort of driven by something you intrinsically wanted to do, less so than maybe one student mad at another student.
You know, here's the dichotomy. Stephanie Pagonis, I see a conflict in rationale. Stephanie Pagonis, crime reporter with Fox News Digital. Hold on. Let me see if I can verbalize this correctly. Okay. The fact that this person killed 4 innocent victims, generally in their sleep or in bed, would suggest it's not his first offense. You don't go from 0 to 120 mph just like that. On the other hand, we're not getting a hit in CODIS or APHIS. DNA repository, fingerprint repository, which if there had been a conviction, in the last 15, 20 years, he would be in that data bank. See what I mean? That is an inconsistency that must be analyzed and scrutinized very carefully. One, methodology would dictate this is not his first crime. But
that's why
he doesn't have a record. What?
That's why VICAP is important. That's the Bureau's Violent Apprehension Program that takes every one of these similar cases, puts them into a private database with the Bureau about knife, gun, weapon, location, all those things to connect all these dots in a way that allows us to know that some guy in Southern California did this 2 years ago.
Or Stephanie Pagonis, it could be simply,
Wait a second.
there may not be an inconsistency. It may be.
What did he just say? Somebody did this where? Southern California? Oh, don't send me down a rabbit hole, Dale. Hang on a second, guys.
In the same bed on the top floor, level 3, Kaylee and Maddie. Second floor, Ethan Chapin and Xana Kernodle. They were together on the second floor, probably in the same bed. The survivors, Dylan Mortensen and Bethany Funk, were both sleeping on the first floor. That gives me a lot of information. That tells me why the survivors didn't hear anything. The 4 victims were sleeping in just 2 beds. They were all together in 2 different rooms on upper levels. No wonder they didn't hear anything. But Joe Scott Morgan, the fact that you've got 2 victims in one bed, we think 2 victims in another bed, that tells me something.
Yeah, it does. It tells you that they're not spread out over a large area. Like, you know,
he wasn't sneaking door to door like in a horror movie.
No. And if the perpetrator was targeting anybody, I hate to use that word now, but if they walk into the door, it kind of is. It's a matter of convenience at that point in time, isn't it? Because you got the victim.
Still don't get something though, Joe Scott. You go in to one room, you find your victim, you killed 2 of them. Why do you go on up to the next floor? Why
because he came
it seems risky to me. I was just actually talking about this with my wife over coffee this morning because, you know,
Bundy did it.
You're talking about the 2 victims downstairs that were not touched. Did this individual think that they were pushing the boundaries at that point in time, decided to get out? Because I think whoever did this had familiarity with the location. And so why would you go up a staircase and eradicate 2
just heard a dog barking.
Why are we assuming he went up the staircase? Perhaps he was hiding at the upper floor of the house.
Good point.
His creepy killing fantasy.
I am assuming that he went from one floor to the next, regardless of where he started.
And that is
why do you kill 2 people in bed and then go, hey, there's some more people to kill. I'll run down there. That's what Bundy did.
Well, because you have a lot of familiarity.
Killing people. Bundy had never been in the Chi Omega house before.
Well,
he knew there were a lot of girls in there.
When you look from the back of the property into the building, you only see 2 floors. And so if you're out there watching for a period of time.
Exactly. You may not have realized there was that bottom floor.
Yeah.
Hey, Haley in the studio, can you show that 3 levels, what Dale Carson's talking about? If you're on the sliding glass door level, that's your point of entry. You don't even see, I'm calling it the basement, but you've got a ground entrance to it. You don't even see that. So Carson could be right.
See? You don't even see that front part with the bedrooms. Maybe he didn't know, Kaz, that there were bedrooms there. Huh?
I said that's a possibility.
Yes, it is.
He also is a former FBI agent, and he also is an involuntary cell. Guys, now another theory has reared its ugly head: the possibility of an incel, an involuntary celibate. Listen to Jonathan Gilliam. He also is a former FBI agent, and he's being interviewed on Fox.
I'm pretty sure that this was a young male, somebody who could get into the house and get out in that neighborhood without being seen. I don't think it was 2 people, because the more people you have going into that house, the more likely that it is that they were going to be seen. So I think it's one male, young enough to have been in that neighborhood. I think the potential is that they entered from the second floor because the first floor was never disturbed. And there's also a wooded area behind that house. But here's an important thing that I think people should realize. This is probably not the first time that this person did this.
Yeah, he's right. Or did something similar, some type of crime. To go
Nancy,
from, again, 0 to 120. Jump in, Joe Scott.
Okay. We know that 2 of the victims had been at a fraternity party. All right.
Yeah.
I checked this out. The distance from that particular fraternity house to the location of the crimes on foot, walking on a sidewalk, is half a mile. Did you know that from the location of the backside of the fraternity house to the location is about 200 yards?
Yeah.
It's not that far away. And
I think go through the woods.
with fraternity parties, the way it works, I'm a university professor. The way it works now is that you have to have a guest list of everybody that's going to come in.
Yeah, I don't know if
and
that's
at
true
least at our
everywhere,
university,
Scott.
and you can only
You
get
did see
in.
Animal House, right? If not,
Yeah,
I
but
advise you to look
it's
at
a
it right
brave
now.
new world now, Nancy. They control the door at these points. And so you would have a guest list. I'd like to know if the party that they were having that night was a scheduled party, that it was approved by IFC or whoever it is, or if it was just a random gathering of people. Because this is significant, particularly when you're talking about, and we all know
It is right there on Greek Row, which we pointed out on day one. I think I hear Stephanie Pagonis jumping in. Did you hear what he said? That if you cut through the woods, not stay on the sidewalk or the road, it's less than a football field length from the back of the fraternity houses to
No
the murder
woods,
house.
Nancy.
It absolutely is. And I would even venture to say, I'm sorry for cutting you off there, Joe Scott.
We don't care.
I would even venture to say it's less than 200 yards. I am here, and many students, in fact, even through the snow, will cross through. They won't take the sidewalks. They will cross right through the grass to go from one side to the other. Not only are there fraternity houses up there, but there's also at least one sorority house as well. And I actually walked from the crime scene to Sigma Chi, the fraternity house. And on my walk earlier this week, I could see only one surveillance camera on the street. But there's been a question of whether or not the camera was installed before this crime occurred or after, because we have heard that many have since been taking more precautions, such as installing surveillance devices.
Hey, guys, speaking of the whole... Was that Bethany? Go ahead.
Well, with the incels?
Yeah, hey, Bethany, take a listen to Jim Moray at Inside Edition. He's talking right to your point.
There has been a rash of killing sprees by incels. Elliot Rodger killed 6 and wounded 14 at the University of California Santa Barbara campus in 2014. The Pretty Idaho victims were also in sororities and posted rambunctious videos of life in their party house.
If you look at the online presence of incels in this country, they are very, very negative and hate-filled toward beautiful women in particular.
I spoke with Idaho State Police Communications Director Aaron Snell. Does an incel fit into the potential profile of this killer?
We are not speculating on that at this point in time. When it comes available and when it's appropriate, we will release that information.
Okay, Dr. Bethany, do your thing.
Well, the idea of the incel is that there's involuntary celibacy, right? That he just can't get a girl. And because of that, he hates girls. He's jealous of anybody who can get a girl. But incels, the way they kill is sort of unique in that they do that fish in a barrel kind of shooting like we see in mass murders. They want to terrorize and take out as many people as possible. So on the one hand, these were beautiful young women and possibly one boyfriend of one of the girls. On the other hand, it was stealth. It was in the dark. No one else could see it. So there wasn't this glory mass shooting where the killer triumphs over everybody else, which I think is more the pattern of the incel. One of the ideas about the fraternity, I keep thinking about BTK, not to lead down the rabbit hole of other serial
Bind,
killers.
torture, kill, Dennis Rader, the dog catcher.
Yeah. This guy, which is really common with serial killers, was hiding in plain sight. He was married, had children, had a family vehicle, deacon at the local church. He was sort of like the local
Okay,
dog
Bethany, before you say another word, I can't believe you're bringing up Dennis Rader, bind, torture, kill.
Because
I woke up in the middle of the night thinking about Dennis Rader, bind, torture, kill, BTK.
Mm-hmm.
Why did I wake up thinking about him in the middle of the night? What is connecting my mind with BTK to this?
Interesting.
He would see his victims, but he didn't really know them.
Yes.
If I was having dreams about serial killers, I think I would probably stop and take a break for a couple of days. Could you imagine? BTK coming to your dreams? Kind of like Freddy Krueger. Yeah, I'm good.
Go ahead.
What else in your mind?
Well, for one thing, BTK staged.
Mm-hmm.
He had a passing familiarity with each one of his victims. He would kill other people in the home that got in his way, in addition to his target. He watched his victims. Remember, that was his route as a dog catcher. He would see them over and over and over.
That is right.
All that's just percolating in my head right now. I want to hear your thoughts.
See, my thoughts, to piggyback on what you're saying, the idea of an incel or a younger person is a very different pattern from BTK, where he was older. He was integrated into the community. He was wearing what some researchers call the mask of sanity, acting normal even when he's not.
I call it the indicia of reliability. He seems like a normal, reliable person.
Oh, yes. Especially being the church deacon, right? So I would, if I were the police, I would try to put out a plea to the community for people who have family members, men in particular, who may have been absent or missing that night. Maybe a father who mysteriously leaves the house at midnight, returns at 5 in the morning.
I'm also thinking about Delphi with a pharmacy tech right under everybody's nose.
There you go.
It had to cross somebody's mind that this guy was out there wandering around, quote, looking for fish the day of the double murders of Libby and Abby. So we go from the possibility of an incel to the awkward next door neighbor. Take a listen to Jeremy Regan, the law student who lives next door, talking to our friends at Court TV.
I'm naturally an awkward person. Just my mannerisms, the way I talk. A lot of things have been online about, when he was talking, he went from present tense to past tense in one of his sentences, partly because everyone corrects themselves when they're talking. And so just my natural person, I'm a little bit socially awkward, so I might smile at points that I shouldn't. I might make weird hand movements when I shouldn't, stuff like that. And so people have sort of keyed into that and said, he's a weirdo, he must be this killer. And so it's just stuff like that. And so, plus I think it's the amount of interviews I've done, because I have a problem saying no, because if it's not going to hurt me physically or financially, I might as well help someone.
Okay, yeah, it's not him. Does anybody agree with me? A, you don't see the killer very often, according to Limelight, or doing interview after interview after interview.
That's not true.
No,
Nancy.
listen to more of Regan speaking, the awkward next door neighbor.
I was home, I was asleep. I went to bed around 11:30ish that night. And so I didn't see or hear anything. And I didn't know any of them. I had seen them just walking around when I would take my dog out. So I would recognize them, but I didn't actually know their names because I just don't stop and introduce myself to people. As I mentioned in one of the other interviews, I usually carry a weapon on me now, whereas I didn't used to when I moved up to Moscow, just because it was such a safe community.
Well, that's a lot of information that nobody asked yet. It's not him. What about the theory of a
Nancy,
person?
he's not being cagey.
No, he's just being
I'm sorry,
awkward.
he's not being cagey or evasive. He's throwing in so many details.
What about the idea of a person that lives nearby that could have been watching them, possibly with binoculars or spying on them? Back to your Dennis Rader comparison, Bethany.
Well, I remember reading some very interesting research a number of years ago about the demographics of men who kill university students. And they said, I think if I remember correctly, the men were usually in their late 20s, early 30s, single, low-wage jobs. These are not university students who are going to a fraternity party. These are creepers.
Right.
And that they would watch the victims for a long, long time before they actually killed them. So, like I said earlier, it points to a perpetrator who is already developing a relationship in his mind.
In his mind, which is important.
In his mind.
Stephanie Pagonis joining us from there in Moscow, crime reporter, Fox News Digital. They're wrapping up the processing of the home. People are all over the cops' backs because we don't have a suspect yet. I'm not surprised we don't have a suspect. I'd be shocked if we did have a suspect. This is a painstaking ordeal, processing all of these hundreds and hundreds of exhibits and blood samples. What's next, Stephanie Pagonis?
So even when the crime scene does get lifted, and we don't have a time frame as to when that will be, other than that is a discussion right now. But the crime will carry on. All that this means when the crime scene is lifted is frankly that they have everything they think they need from that area, and they will continue investigating. Like you said, Nancy, this is an incredibly complicated investigation because not only were there half a dozen people at least in the home at the time, but these survivors then called people to the home. More people came, which creates more forensic evidence that they have to go through. Another thing that I just want to add in terms of what we were just discussing, I think sometimes the reader or the listener might view this home as being in an area where there aren't many other homes nearby. And I just want to note that this is an area where there are several buildings or residences nearby. They may not be high rises and they're not high rises, but there are multi-family apartments very close, easily within walking distance and within, frankly, only a few feet in some cases.
Well, Stephanie Pagonis, that is very important. It certainly widens the suspect pool possibilities. Guys, a tip line, 208-883-7054.
Interesting podcast.
We pray for justice.
Yes,
Goodbye.
we do. Kaz, I know
it's getting on my nerves.
Right. Okay, let's go with the Brian Enton interview, and then we can chat and wrap it up. Let me see. I don't know. I got a lot of internet left. Let's see.
Don't go using it all at once, Missy Moo.
I have like 8 more days and I'm going to switch over again. Okay. This was the Kaylee Goncalves injury, significantly more brutal. I can't. It's poor babies. I agree though. So on that poll, See, a lot of people are not sure if the skinning of the dog is related to the creeper of the quadruple murder. It very well could. I mean, talk about a coincidence. Well, then, wouldn't you try to be figuring out who did that to the dog? Like, where is he at then, if it's not related?
Exactly.
Like,
I mean,
where is he?
That's a strange person who would harm a dog like that.
Yeah.
Very sick.
And you know what they say? Don't they usually start off by hurting animals? Like it's a different mind. All right, News Nation. Be nice. So much junk opens up on the pages.
I know.
And look at how creepy the picture is.
That is.
Hey, Grandpa Santa. Oh, gosh. Yeah, that was wrong altogether, trying to sit on Santa's lap at that age. Okay.
I'm Brian Enton, live in Moscow, Idaho tonight, where we continue to look into the murders that happened in the house behind me. 4 innocent college students now 3 weeks ago. Still
Hey,
no
Raybird.
significant developments, still no named suspect, still no named persons of interest. I want to bring back in Ashley Banfield. And Ashley, I've been looking forward to this because I want to talk to you about this new information that we confirmed just before the special today. The new information is that Kaylee Goncalves' injuries were significantly more brutal. That is what I can say. Significantly more brutal than her best friend Maddie's injuries. What do you make of that new piece of information, Ashley?
Well, it's astounding, for one, because this is the first time, Brian, that you've been able to get the kind of information that helps us to perhaps try to figure out why this happened. Not saying this is definitive, but it certainly is one additional clue as to whether perhaps Kaylee might have been the target. But you got more information that makes it almost more complicated, and that is where the girls were found. So walk us through what you discovered today, because many of us didn't know which room when Kaylee's father said they were found in the same room and in the same bed.
Yeah, let me show you, Ashley. I want to take you up the hill here and get you oriented. This is the front of the house. There's now private security out front. And oh my, because it's
Don't fall,
and it's
Brian.
very, very slippery. But we're going to walk you up to the back of the house.
No
No windows on the side
down
of the
that
house.
hill.
You've got the front door out front, which we know has the coded lock.
You see
On
where
the
he's
back of
walking
the
up
house,
there
though,
past it?
is where the bedrooms are. Confirmed that
Keep going, Brian. To the
injuries.
Past the crime scene tape. Keep going, Brian. You got to pass the trees.
Your mic, and I'm not
There
sure.
you go. Right there.
You're back.
Keep
You're
going.
back. Can you just
Little
repeat what you
further.
said in the last 10 seconds? Your mic went dead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was explaining that we confirmed that Kaylee's injuries were more significantly brutal than Maddie's. We've also confirmed that they were on the 3rd floor. I'm going to have Mo show you. 3rd floor here, where not easy access. You've got the balcony. There's a slider. You can't easily jump up there. So what this has us wondering, Ashley, and I want you to kind of walk through this with me. If Kaylee's injuries were the most severe up on the 3rd floor, and there's no way out of the 3rd floor, would that mean the killer specifically targeted the 3rd floor? Because it doesn't make any sense. Why would the killer go up to a floor where there would not be an easy exit for him? What do you make of that, Ashley?
Are you kidding me? You just killed 4 people. You could go off that balcony and slide down the pole.
We still don't know where the killings began. Did they begin on the second floor where Xana Kernodle's room was? And of course, Ethan had been staying over that night. And we now know that that room was the room on the far side of the house. So not the side of the house that you're on right now, on the other side of the house at the front of the house. That's Xana and Ethan's. And then did they progress to the third floor? And while your mic was cutting out, I think the key piece of information that the audience couldn't hear was which room upstairs on the third floor the girls were actually found in. That before now, we only knew they were found together, but we didn't know in Maddie's room or in Kaylee's room. And so as we look at the third floor map right there, bedroom number E, or bedroom E, is Maddie's bedroom, and it looks out the back of the house. And bedroom F is Kaylee's bedroom, and it looks out the front, but also the back where the slider is. So what did you discover about which room, Maddie's room on the left or Kaylee's room on the right?
That's right. We confirmed that they were in Maddie's room, which is also interesting. That's something that we did not know. So Kaylee's injuries were significantly more brutal, but they were sleeping together in Maddie's room. So that helps put the puzzle together.
That is definitely him.
Dude, that's Jessica taking a little break with her.
Just crazy.
So sad.
Now I'm going to be digging into the South California thing to see any connections in my little mind. I can't. I was like, is that it? Is that all of it?
That's all of it, yeah.
Why does he cut it off like that? How rude.
Well, I suppose that we're just getting that part across that she was definitely in Maddie's room, Kaylee, and that Kaylee's injuries were significantly more brutal.
Unbelievable. I don't know. I just hope that they come out with at least a press conference soon.
Well, coming out with the press conference is great as long as they say something more than what they're actually saying.
I mean, anything like, you know, if people are saying there's DNA companies there, why? I don't know why they would have to go there. I mean, I guess they got to pick up a sample or it can be sent, but maybe to put a rush on things, that just tells me that they do have DNA and it's not in the system. And that's scary.
Yeah, Trinity, Ashley Banfield cuts off everybody. I agree with you.
She what?
Ashley Banfield cuts everybody off.
Yeah.
Chisme, where did you send it, sweetie? Email or what?
Send them to Kaz, please, Chisme. Unbelievable. Even all those calls for service, like, I mean, if the guy lives in Moscow or around Moscow and he's in Moscow a lot, I wonder if we can go back on those Twitch videos of the food truck. If you can go watch the stream and actually go back further than that night.
I don't know. I don't know what Twitch is like.
I don't know. None of them look super wasted to me. Let's go watch it again. Did they look wasted to you at the food truck?
Not really. Not really. I've got the photos, Chisme.
All right, one sec. Let me just see what this is.
You've really got to blow it up to see. And it
Where did
distorts it.
I don't even want to know where the pictures came from. Hang on 1 second. Is this the video or? I don't know. Like, is that not the video?
Yeah,
What pictures are they? The front door or the slider
No,
door?
inside. These are inside.
Ugh.
It's just blood off splatter, off where the knife is thrown off offshoots.
All right, you want to go ahead and show it? I want to find that. I'm looking for the video that shows the other side when you can see them taking those pictures.
This is the clearest one. I'll show you this one. The trigger warning, guys, if you don't like the sight
Trigger.
of blood, please look away.
Trigger warning. I don't know if I can look. Oh my God.
Here, off, where the knife has gone off onto the wall.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Yeah. You can't really, and that's looking
And
through
then
the window of one of the bedrooms.
And then the blood that was coming out of the wall was the actual wall that Ethan and Xana were in.
Correct.
So if Ethan was found in the community area, then that means that Xana, you know what, this guy is a complete, I mean, he's got to be, do you think he suffers from psychosis or you think he's like a complete just,
Oh, I
you
think
think he's
anybody
impotent?
who is got to be sick in the head to commit a heinous, four heinous murders like they've done.
Hey, Liz. That's a cabinet door, Liz said. So if that's the case.
Well, that's the kitchen.
So if that's the case, then Ethan was maybe in the kitchen.
Oh, crikey, we're attracting the new adult dating chat-free sites again.
Listen, we know, guys. We know.
University of Idaho and the community of Moscow remain on edge tonight. Police say they are still looking for the suspect or four students in an off-campus apartment this past Sunday.
Now, at the same time, the community came together in a vigil last night to brutalize for a killer.
Welcome back.
This chilling video shows lifelong best friends Kaylee Goncalves and Madison final hours last weekend, ordering late-night food at 2 a.m. Police say the University of Idaho students were found stabbed to death.
I mean, I don't
few hours
know.
later, along with
They're not staggering drugs.
You guys.
in an off-campus apartment in the small town
Hey,
of Moscow.
Annie.
Police walking back their original claims that there was no imminent threat to the community.
We cannot say that there's no threat to the community.
Huh.
And as we have stated, please stay vigilant.
Investigators.
They have to know something to come out with such a powerful statement that don't, after 4 college kids are murdered.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, little girl. The little princess just woke up.
Uh-oh.
Yep, and she goes right for the bottle. Her newest thing is that she takes the 4x6 carpets and she likes to pull them, try to pull the whole entire carpet underneath the couch.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're little. How do you do this? But it's if that's really a picture like that, I just I can't.
All right. Well, is there anything else, Mark? Because Ross has just got home, and I like to spend some time with my husband if you don't mind.
Hello, Ross. Yeah, we're ending, and I got to get to bed. It's 2:00 in the morning. Everyone, thank you for coming in. Kaz, thank you.
Thank you, my darling. Thank you, everybody. And if you wouldn't mind hitting that like button on the way out, if you haven't already done so, we greatly appreciate it.
And everyone, gosh, you know what? Hug your babies tighter tonight.
Oh,
even if you don't have them at home, call them and hug them.
Yeah.
Stay vigilant, guys, because if I had a child, they would not be going to the University of Idaho.
Oh, mine either.
Yeah. I would, and if they didn't want to leave, I would have them professionally kidnapped. All right, guys, everyone, thank you for coming in and have a good week.
Yep. Bye, guys.